Hello folks, once again to some mixing reviews. First one of today is by Lukasz Cosmic Sobiepanski. Sobiepanski, or something around those lines, I suppose. Okay, this is a pretty solid mix. It's just the vocals could be a little bit higher in volume. Perhaps the guitars could use a little bit more distortion to give them that extra bit of edge, that extra bit of energy. Okay, I don't really have any much to tell you really. It sounds decent, yes. Just the two things really. Rhythm guitars, a bit more distortion, and vocals could come up a little bit. Next one is by Franklin 145. Okay, overall this is also a solid mix. Vocals could perhaps come up at the B, and the low end could be a bit stronger, so just give it a gradual low shelf and just boost around 100 Hz, like at the B or 2, to give it a bit more rumble. I feel like the guitars could come down slightly. Yes, overall, this is also a pretty good mix. Just a few minor tweaks and you're good. Next one is by Merciless Mixing. Let's see if that mix is as merciless as your name. Not sure what you did with the snare there, but each snare hit sounds like a flam, like there are two very short consecutive snare hits. And that flam effect is also on the toms. It makes me think it's actually on the whole drums, but it's just more noticeable on these. I think that if this doubling effect is actually on the whole mix. Sometimes I notice it in the vocals too. You hear in the guitars there's this phasing going on. Could also be that's an intentional phasing effect on the guitars, but it kind of makes me think there is some kind of doubling effect going on the whole mix. And it's very problematic. Very, very problematic. So you may want to check that out. I don't know what you did there. Yeah, because of this, I don't really want to say too much else about the mix, because it could be this doubling effect is actually messing with a lot of stuff. It could be messing with the low end, that you are getting phase issues down there, and then I cannot make a fair judgment of it. Next one's by Cosimo Marraffa from Phoenix Sound Mixing. So far, this is a very nice mix. The only thing I'd say is the low end could benefit from a substantial boost to give the whole mix more energy. It's a little bit weak down there. Yeah, overall there's a very nice volume balance between everything, and also in general the frequency balance between all the instruments is very good. It's really just the low end as a whole could just come up. Next one is Adrien Rougé or Rougé from Ohm Audio Recordings. Right off the bat, the overheads are too loud. It's piercing through the ears. Makes it a little bit harsh. There's also not a lot of low end here, so this could also come up. Feel the B. Too harsh. The cymbals are too loud, and it's kind of standing on top of everything else, so it's tough for me to make a fair judgment on the rest of the mix. Next one is Ruben, Zafra, Traver.
Yeah!
the solo could come up a little bit. And perhaps the kick could use a little bit more top-end click, so it takes up a similar amount of presence as the snare, because the snare pops out quite a bit, but then the kick is a little bit more subdued in comparison. But otherwise, this is a very solid mix. So those are really the only pointers I have. Next one is by Injected Smile Studios. He asked if he can use his mix for his portfolio. Yes, for everybody. You feel free to use your mix for your portfolio. That is no problem. Okay, overall it is a really good mix. It's just at times I feel like the vocals stand a bit too much on top of the mix. And it's popping out too much, doesn't really melt into the rest, doesn't quite feel as much of a unit as it could. So I just say just duck down the vocals a dB or two at some spots where it's noticeable and you're golden. But otherwise it's a very solid mix. Now, next one is by C.H.S Production. Well, it's just shortened to Prod. C.H.S Prod. So that's how I'm going to write it in the description. Okay, this is a pretty interesting mix. First of all, some constructive stuff. I say the bass guitar could come up in volume a little bit because the low end could benefit from a bit more filling up. The harmonies you put in the vocals there some at times. It's a really cool idea, definitely. The harmonies you choose, though, I'm not sure about that. And also there's something about the drums. The drums sound like you used sample reinforcement, because there's again something about them that sounds unfamiliar to me. And the vocals could come up in volume a bit. It's kind of weird. The drums sounds... I want to say they have a little bit of an industrial feel. Very... more modern and overproduced, but then the guitars sound much more old schoolish, hard rockish, because you also didn't put a lot of distortion on them. It's two different things that kind of clash a little bit. It doesn't melt so well together. I like the little bit of extra spices you put here and there. That's some cool creative stuff going on. Yeah, those harmonies on the vocals you added, it makes it sound like a train horn. kind of weird. Yeah, the solo also needs to come up. It's too far in the back. Okay, overall this is a really cool mix. You put in some very interesting and very cool stuff. And it's nicely hitting hard whenever there's this little pause and it hits back into the chorus. There's a lot of energy, so you did that quite well. It's just a couple of details that... Next one is by Leo B. Okay, overall, this is also a nice mix. Perhaps a little bit too rough at some spots. For example, the vocals could use a bit more compression. At some spots, it's too dynamic still. And they also sound a little bit muffled. Like there's still a little bit too much lower mid-range, around 300 to 500 hertz. Here you need to work a little bit more on the volume balance. The vocals sit very much on top of the mix and the rhythm guitars are a little bit too low in volume. You may want to equal that out. And the snare could use a little bit more crack, so a bit more top range to it. Okay, and again, last one for today. Thank you for also telling me your name in letters that I can actually read. Max Borin. the whole high end is rolled off. But it doesn't sound like it's coming from low render quality. I mean, this is wave, as it says up here. It sounds more like you put a pretty steep low pass filter on there. If you did that, don't do it. just keep the high end open so you have nice crisp sound. The rest of the mix sounds pretty fine, but really that high-end cut really makes it all sound very lo-fi, which is kind of sad because I would have loved to hear the full experience of the mix. Yeah, I think the rest of the mix sounds pretty good, but again, keep the high end open. Over time, this will actually make it hard on the ears when the whole frequency range is being processed by the ears and by the brain, but the top range not. And it can be tiring, actually. You need the top end for the clarity. And that's it again for today. I still have 115 to go. Whoa, like 2.5 full pages. We'll get there. Eventually this whole thing will be finished. So next month, the first 2 weeks, I'm off. I don't have to work, so I will have more time also to perhaps make 2 videos a day instead of just 1. So then I shall see you next video.